Okay, so is this huge new $100,000 H-1B fee a brilliant move for American jobs, or have we just shot ourselves in the foot innovation-wise?
Yeah, that's the tension.
The material you sent in uses that really strong headline. Trump just destroyed India's H-1B advantage.
Very punchy.
And we're going to dive deep because, that claim, it's kind of true, but it's also, well, it's missing a huge part of the picture.
Definitely incomplete.
We are Kaizen, and we're here to help sharpen that analysis.
Let's get into it.
Before we really dig in, though, if you believe American jobs need protecting, stop what you're doing right now and just smash that like button. It helps us out a ton.
Yeah, do that. Okay, so this is obviously high-stakes stuff. The material, it does a good job capturing the political shock of it all.
It really does. But we need to pump up the economic substance, Get to the real core of what this fee is trying to do.
I totally agree. And I think to really hit home with the American audience, it needs to be crystal clear that this $100,000 fee isn't just some broadside against all foreign talent.
Right.
It's actually targeting very specific business models that were, frankly, exploiting the system. Right now, the piece feels a bit like it's celebrating, a win against India, when it should be exposing, a systemic financial problem.
Yeah, that's exactly where that headline, destroyed India's advantage, kind of falls short, doesn't it?
It does.
It makes it about geography, about another country. But the policy, fundamentally, it's not really about the foreign nationals themselves, is it?
No, not at its root. It's about stopping what's called wage arbitrage.
Wage arbitrage. Okay, let's unpack that a bit, because that's the real target here.
Exactly. That's the enemy. For listeners maybe not steeped in policy jargon, it's this nasty gap where companies make money not because they invented something amazing.
Right, not from innovation.
But just by bringing in workers at salaries way below what the local market pays for similar jobs.
Okay.
And the data, historically, it shows this was pretty widespread, especially with employers who depended heavily on H-1Bs.
The big users.
The biggest users, yeah. They were using the program often to pay below the median wage for that area. And that practice, that's what this massive fee is designed to kill.
So these companies were basically running like a labor rental operation?
Kind of, yeah.
Where their profit came from poorly designed visa rules, not better engineering or anything like that.
That's it. And that's the point that really lands with American workers.
It absolutely does. So I think the mistake in the submitted piece is framing it too broadly, like you said. The suggestion, then, is to really refocus the story, make it about fixing this systemic weakness, about killing off that whole body shopping model.
Body shopping, yeah, that term itself, it's loaded, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. For American workers who feel like they've been pushed out, that term hits a nerve.
It's the thing that makes them feel the whole system is rigged against them.
So the suggestion? Get specific.
You got to point out the policy hits, that old criticism head on, that the program was used to replace rather than supplement American workers with lower paid, lower skilled labor.
Show, don't just tell.
Right. Show the shift, like how IT workers are now over 65% of H-1B holders?
Wow, that's way up.
Way up from just 32% back in 2003. So this policy isn't just nicking a few specialized engineers here and there.
No, it's aimed at the high-volume replacement stuff.
Exactly. That's the crucial context the submitted piece needs to bring out.
It's the difference between, border security and labor market protection.
Totally different angle. And you need to go beyond just stats. You got to highlight those really inflammatory examples, the ones that make people mad.
Use the documented cases?
Yeah. Mention those accusations, where big U.S. companies supposedly laid off their American staff.
Oh, I remember hearing about this.
And then made them train their foreign replacements before they got kicked out the door.
That's just brutal.
It's visceral, right? That's the kind of corporate move that makes my blood boil too. And it explains why this fee hits such a chord with U.S. workers who feel left behind.
That's super actionable. Those details, they connect the policy directly back to why the audience cares: American jobs. It frames the fee as a targeted strike against the exploiters, not against, the world's best talent.
Right. So we got to ask the audience, when you hear about Americans training their replacements, does this policy suddenly feel, maybe, justified?
Yeah.
If you agree this fee is needed to stop that kind of thing, tell us.
Let us know in the comments right now, seriously.
That kind of interaction, it makes this whole thing a real conversation, not just us talking.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've nailed the why, the anti-abuse part. But any policy this huge, this dramatic, it has costs, right?
Always.
You slap a $100,000 fee on the market, there are going to be trade-offs. Big ones. Let's talk about those economic consequences.
Right. Because while, populist feelings might cheer the crackdown on cheap labor,
Sure, hire American sounds great.
a complete analysis has to weigh that against the very real risk of pushing high-value R&D, innovation jobs right offshore.
And that's the flip side that feels missing right now in the material.
It's a huge omission.
The piece just doesn't have that balanced view. It ignores the immediate shock waves hitting U.S. companies, hitting the whole innovation scene.
You saw NASSCOM, right? India's big tech trade body. They were immediately like, concern, especially about the superfast deadline for the fee.
The one-day thing, yeah.
Warning about those exact ripple effects on U.S. innovation. They see it coming.
So the suggestion here is you got to beef up the argument by showing both sides clearly. Contrast that popular hire American vibe
with the serious warnings coming from major U.S. business leaders and tech figures.
that makes the whole discussion feel more urgent, more real, higher stakes.
It does. But I wonder, are we digging into the mechanics of those warnings enough? Like if the U.S. genuinely doesn't have enough homegrown talent for, say, next-gen AI.
Which is what some argue.
How does the policy stop that from happening, that threat to U.S. tech dominance?
That's the conflict, and you have to show it. Bring in the quotes from the big names. You've got tech leaders, Musk included, publicly saying, hold on, we need these H1Bs. We don't have enough specialists here.
Especially for the really cutting-edge stuff.
Exactly. This isn't just about basic coding anymore. It's about the frontier technologies.
But then you have, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick saying, all the big companies are fine with it. They're on board.
Right. Total contradiction.
You've got the government saying one thing and some of the world's top innovators screaming about a talent crisis. That clash is what makes this so interesting and potentially dangerous. It is. So you got to challenge the listener directly. Is America really ready to potentially lose ground in, the global AI race because of this?
Good question.
And bring in the studies. There are studies out there concluding that blocking high-skilled H-1Bs has actually hurt U.S. job growth before.
Oh, interesting. Hurt growth?
Yeah, and push companies to move R&D jobs elsewhere, China, India, Canada. This shows the fee isn't some simple fix. It's a gamble, a really high-stakes one.
Getting the business owners involved is key here.
Absolutely.
If you run a U.S. business, maybe a tech startup, tell us your story. We genuinely want to know. Are you worried sick about losing top talent because of this fee?
Or are you maybe thinking, great, this might help raise wages for my American team?
Yeah, share your take in the comments. Let's get some real-world perspective. It turns this from just policy talk into an immediate economic stress test.
And that level of analysis, that takes the material from just reacting to politics to offering a real economic forecast.
Fantastic. Okay, one more big piece. Let's make sure we cover the full policy picture. Our third critique is about completeness, connecting this big fee to the permanent changes coming to H1B.
Right, because the weakness now is kind of missing the big picture. Focusing just on the fee, this sort of short-term shock tactic, it completely overlooks the deeper permanent shift happening in how the whole H-1B system works.
That's crucial context, isn't it? The administration isn't just adding a fee, they want to ditch the whole random lottery system.
Totally replace it.
Replace it with a ranking system based on wages. Using those occupational employment statistics, OES wage levels.
Starting with the highest earners, level 4, and working down. That becomes the new definition of merit. No more luck of the draw.
We probably need to quickly explain what those levels mean, right? Because that's the future of the program.
Yeah, good point. Level 1, that's typically your entry level, maybe fresh graduates. Historically, a lot of those roles filled the lottery pool, maybe easier to exploit on wages.
Plausible.
Level 4, though, that's the top tier. Senior specialists, highly experienced, often in really critical fields. Think top 10% pay for that occupation.
Okay, got it. So the suggestion is frame the $100,000 fee as the immediate shock treatment.
designed to jack up the cost floor right now, like a preview of what's coming, forcing companies to pay a premium today.
And then explain that the wage-based lottery, that's the long-term structural change. That's the new merit system being built.
Exactly. It shows it's a two-pronged approach, both designed to attract supposedly the best and brightest. More complete picture.
So how does this play out for future applicants? We need examples.
Okay, so under this wage-based selection, think about it if you're coming in at level I or even level 2 wages.
The lower tiers.
Who make up a big chunk of the current pool. Your chances of getting picked, they plummet because the system starts at level 4 and works down. The top earners get first pick.
So if you're a smart kid just out of college, maybe in a standard tech role, even if you're great, your odds are suddenly much worse?
Dramatically worse. Unless your specific skill set commands a crazy high salary right away, the days of using H1B for cheap entry-level labor looks like they're over.
That is a structural transformation.
Now contrast that with someone in like advanced AI research or quantum computing or specialized cybersecurity.
High demand, high skill.
Right. Those roles naturally pay more, probably level 3 or level 4. Their odds actually get better under this system.
Ah, okay.
So the $100,000 fee makes companies pay up now, anticipating that future system where only high-wage offers really stand a chance. It's a signal only the highest paid, most specialized need apply.
That's critical info for anyone involved in this program. You're not just tweaking the fee, you're explaining the whole strategic pivot. Wow, this has been a really good critique.
We love digging into this stuff with you here at Kaizen. So let's recap quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've basically established that $100,000 H-1B fee, it's a direct hit on the low-wage outsourcing game, the body shopping, the wage arbitrage.
Forces companies, pay top dollar or move the work.
Right. But we also stressed that this fee isn't happening in a vacuum. It's step one in a much bigger shift towards a permanent, wage-based merit system.
Okay, so for the listener to make their analysis truly world-class, what are the top 3 actionable takeaways?
Okay, first, make that sharp distinction. The fee targets abuse and wage games, not necessarily high-skilled talent itself. That nuance is key.
Got it. Number 2?
Second, you have to include that critical debate about the trade-offs. U.S. innovation versus protecting domestic jobs. Bring in those warnings from the tech sector, contrast them with the political angle, show the conflict.
Balance the perspective. And third?
And third, fully connect the dots, show the fee as the opening salvo, the market shock paving the way for the permanent wage-based lottery. Explain what level I versus level 4 means for who gets in going forward.
Integrate the short-term tactic with the long-term strategy.
Precisely. Nail those 3 points, and your analysis becomes way more robust, logical, and really shows you grasp the whole policy landscape.
Fantastic advice. And hey, we challenge you right now. Share this critique with one friend, someone you know who cares about U.S. jobs or the tech industry's future.
Yeah, spread the knowledge, and definitely submit your material back to us again soon. Let's keep sharpening that analysis together.